From the pinnacle of human achievement to the brink of despair, history records epochs defined by their rise and, with unsettling frequency, their demise. One such era, cloaked in enigma and whispered among the annals of time, is the end of the Bronze Age. Within this crucible of upheaval, we find not simply a tale of collapse but a potent reminder of the delicate balance upon which all societies hang. It's this balance, teetering between progress and regress, which holds profound relevance even today. Through this lens, we confront the potential consequences of systemic weaknesses, unforeseen calamities, and the fragility that even seemingly unshakable empires possess. It's a saga of both destruction and resilience, offering valuable insights into how civilizations respond to profound challenges. The Bronze Age was a watershed era, stretching across vast swaths of the globe. This time of ingenuity and ambition witnessed the emergence of mighty empires, forging networks of trade and culture that spanned the ancient world. Great powers, Egypt, the Hittites, and Mycenaean Greece, flourished, building upon their advancements to create towering cities, vast armies, and artistic endeavors that still resonate with us centuries later. Egypt, the gift of the Nile, had long reigned as a beacon of architectural wonders and organized state power. With a pharaoh guiding their fate, the Egyptians prospered from fertile lands and well-established trade routes. In Anatolia, the formidable Hittite Empire extended its might, its vast territory encompassing skilled charioteers, fortified cities, and sophisticated diplomacy. Meanwhile, in the Aegean, the Mycenaeans rose to prominence, their formidable citadels and mastery of seafaring a testament to their wealth and influence. These Bronze Age civilizations were far from isolated entities. Each developed extensive trade links relying upon a delicate flow of valuable commodities: tin, copper, grain, and luxury goods. Cities grew as hubs of exchange, fostering diverse populations and intricate connections of political and economic might. This intricate tapestry of civilizations, held together by shared resources and the ambition of powerful rulers, formed the intricate backdrop upon which our story of the collapse would unfold. The Mycenaeans, bold maritime warriors, carved a path of dominance across the Aegean Sea. Trade was their lifeblood, fueling their city-states and driving expansion. However, it was their relentless pursuit of wealth and territorial control that led to acts of piracy and relentless naval conflicts with rival powers. These aggressive raids disrupted sea lanes, cutting off supplies that other Bronze Age civilizations depended on. What initially began as opportunistic strikes on merchant ships escalated into targeted attacks on coastal settlements, sowing fear and fracturing long-standing alliances across the region. Far to the east, the mighty Hittite Empire struggled to maintain control over its vast domain. Though blessed with skilled charioteers and fortified cities, defending their sprawling borders drained precious resources and tested their military strength. Persistent conflicts with nomadic groups like the Casca took a heavy toll. These raiders, fueled by desperation or cunning opportunism, launched a relentless campaign of attrition against outlying Hittite settlements. Though a nuisance individually, these ceaseless attacks whittled away at Hittite strength, slowly bleeding them of manpower and undermining their control of key resource areas. Even the gift of the Nile, the enduring Egypt, could not escape the creeping tide of instability. Though Pharaoh still commissioned awe-inspiring pyramids and commanded a vast bureaucracy, political turmoil and regional uprisings chipped away at their authority. Weakened leadership saw Egypt's distant territories dwindle as rebellious rulers sought autonomy, shrinking the once unquestioned realm and denying it resources. Pharaohs grappled with maintaining internal order, unable to address growing external threats with their former resolve. Adding to these geopolitical tensions, archaeological evidence reveals a devastating environmental factor. Prolonged periods of drought gripped the ancient world. Entire harvests turned to dust, granaries once bursting with bounty emptied, and once fertile regions transformed into arid wastelands. The agricultural foundations that supported kingdoms and complex societies crumbled. Desperate populations migrated in search of sustenance, increasing friction and overwhelming cities already groaning under the strain. Into this world of mounting chaos came the Sea Peoples. Their faces and true origins remain shrouded in time, but the fear they evoked was unmistakable. Whether driven by displacement, famine, or simply the ruthless ambition of warlords, they unleashed a wave of destruction along the coasts. Striking as suddenly as a summer storm, these maritime raiders sacked vulnerable cities, burning palaces and temples before disappearing back into the vastness of the sea. These attacks only worsened the plight of empires already burdened by their own internal turmoil and faltering alliances. The Sea Peoples, a term coined by French Egyptologist Gaston Maspero in the 19th century, were thought to be a confederation of maritime raiders who left a significant impact on the Mediterranean during the Late Bronze Age. Their identity and origins remain largely shrouded in mystery. The primary evidence for the Sea Peoples is based on ancient Egyptian texts and illustrations. Other important information comes from Hittite sources and archaeological data. The Egyptians waged 2 wars against the Sea Peoples. The first, in the 5th year of King Mer-Neptah. The second, in the reign of Ramses III. The Sea Peoples left no monuments or written records of their own. Everything historians know about them comes from inscriptions created by the empires that did battle with them, especially the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians describe the Sea Peoples as northerners, which has led some scholars to theorize that they actually came from Europe, perhaps modern Sicily or Turkey. Some even speculate, with little evidence to go on, that the Sea Peoples were actually the Philistines of biblical fame. One theory suggests that the Sea Peoples were actually the Trojans who'd been displaced following the mythic Trojan War with the Greeks. Tentative identifications of the Sea Peoples listed in Egyptian documents are as follows. Ekwesh, a group of Bronze Age Greeks. Tyrrhenians, known as sailors and pirates from Anatolia, ancestors of the Etruscans. Or the Luca, a coastal people of western Anatolia. They also named the Sheridan, who could have been the Sardinians. The Shekelesh, thought to possibly be from Sicily, and finally the Peliset, generally believed to refer to the Philistines. The identification of the Sea Peoples in Egyptian writing suggests they were not just a single group from a single place. It potentially leads credence to the idea of climate change, or a large natural disaster causing mass civilizational migration on a scale unseen previously and unmatched until the collapse of the Roman Empire. From the smoldering wreckage of the Bronze Age, a transformed world slowly took shape. The immediate aftermath was a time of profound upheaval, defined by chaos, mass migration, and the painful restructuring of power. Some once great cities remained mere scars on the landscape, testament to the irreversible collapse they endured. Yet, in this turbulent era, stories of human resilience also emerge. For survivors of the fall, adaptation became paramount. Populations shifted, often on the desperate and dangerous search for arable land and refuge. With the collapse of complex trade networks, a trend toward isolated, more localized communities arises. Former urban-dependent populations had to relearn subsistence farming, focusing on survival over the specialized societal and craft work prevalent in the Bronze Age. Some empires met their demise, but others clung on, even in diminished forms. Egypt, though battered and reduced in stature, endured as a regional power along the Nile Valley. They faced constant border security but retained some level of their sophisticated bureaucracy, though reduced in scale. Elsewhere, in less heavily impacted regions, smaller kingdoms gained prominence in the void left by fallen giants. Yet in many areas, the aftermath signaled a decline in complexity rather than merely a restructuring. The hallmarks of great Bronze Age civilizations, sprawling cities, elaborate artworks, and writing systems like the linear B used by the Mycenaeans, vanished or became severely restricted. Yet even in this time, seeds of the future took root. From the ashes, the phoenix of a new era eventually arose. Across the region, iron gradually eclipsed bronze as the metal of choice. This shift wasn't simply a switch in resources but signaled a transformation in trade networks, weaponry, and technology that propelled civilization in new directions. Though initially less elaborate, new systems of power structures, cultural development, and regional influence formed the foundations of civilizations to come. From the echoes of fallen empires emerges a powerful and timeless lesson. The fragility of even seemingly unshakable civilizations is all too real. The Bronze Age collapse was a watershed moment, marking not simply the end of a historical period but serving as a stark reminder of the cyclical nature of human progress. Within this narrative are questions we continue to grapple with today. Could climate change have served as a tipping point, pushing systems already stressed to the brink into unrecoverable chaos? The collapse serves as a haunting reflection of our modern dependence on complex global systems, resource interdependence, and the potential risks of neglecting underlying weaknesses. While technology and social development have greatly evolved since this ancient turning point, the very same challenges of resource scarcity, environmental pressures, and social unrest continue to loom over modern societies. This wasn't the end of history but a painful metamorphosis. In the ruins and the reimagining, the human capacity for adaptation and survival took new shape. In the face of profound disruptions, the seeds of subsequent eras were sown. Eras seen in full force, right over here,